What we're witnessing with Zebec Network and Stellar is not just another partnership announcement, it's the formation of a complete financial engine. This is the kind of alignment that doesn't just push price in the short term, but quietly builds the foundation for long-term adoption, real-world usage, and massive transaction flow. To understand why this matters, you have to look at what each side brings to the table. Stellar has been positioning itself as a settlement and asset layer for years. Its focus is clear: tokenize real-world assets (RWAs), enable global liquidity, and make cross-border finance seamless. Whether it's tokenized treasuries, stablecoins, or remittance infrastructure, Stellar is building the rails where value can exist digitally, securely, and globally. But here's the missing piece. Assets sitting on-chain don't create value on their own. They need movement, they need activity, they need real-world usage. And that's exactly where Zebec comes in. Zebec Network is not trying to compete with settlement layers, it complements them. It specializes in real-time money movement, payroll streaming, subscription payments, continuous settlement. This is the layer that ensures money doesn't just sit still, but actually flows. When you combine these two, you're no longer looking at separate tools. You're looking at a complete system. Think of it like this: Stellar equal to the infrastructure where value lives, Zebec equal to the mechanism that keeps value moving. Together, they create something much bigger than the sum of their parts. Now let's go deeper into what this actually unlocks, because this is where the real story begins. First, tokenized assets. With Stellar, real-world value like government bonds, treasuries, private credit, and even equities can now live on-chain. This is not a small narrative. This is a multi-trillion-dollar shift in how finance operates. Institutions are not interested in hype, they care about efficiency, transparency, yield, and accessibility. Tokenization delivers all four. But again, tokenization alone is not enough. Assets need to circulate. They need to generate transaction volume. They need to be used in everyday financial activity. That's where Zebec changes the game entirely. Zebec introduces continuous financial activity through payroll and streaming payments. Instead of salaries being paid every 2 weeks or monthly, they can now flow in real time, second by second. Instead of delayed settlements, everything becomes instant and programmable. This creates something incredibly important: constant transaction flow. And in blockchain, activity is everything. So now you have RWAs bringing massive capital onto the chain, Zebec pushing continuous transactions through the chain. That combination creates something powerful: volume plus velocity. Volume comes from institutional money entering the ecosystem, velocity comes from users and businesses interacting with that money continuously. When both exist together, you don't just have a blockchain, you have a living, breathing economy. In this system, XLM acts as the highway for value transfer. Zebec acts as the engine powering movement. Payroll, remittances, subscriptions, and RWAs become the traffic. This is how real financial systems operate in the traditional world, and now it's being rebuilt in a faster, borderless, and more efficient way on-chain. One of the biggest catalysts in this partnership is Stellar selecting Zebec as its global stablecoin payroll infrastructure provider. That is not a small role. It means Zebec is now embedded into the core financial flows of Stellar's ecosystem, handling how salaries, payments, and continuous transactions actually happen at scale. And it gets even bigger. Zebec is expanding natively to Stellar, moving beyond its original foundation on Solana. This evolution matters because it proves Zebec is not limited. It's positioning itself as a multi-chain financial layer that can plug into multiple ecosystems. More chains equals more users. More users equals more transactions. More transactions equals stronger network effects. Now bring stablecoins into the equation, especially widely adopted ones like USD Coin, USDC. Stablecoins are the bridge between crypto and the real world. They remove volatility, making blockchain usable for everyday payments, salaries, and business operations. So now imagine this full flow. A company holds tokenized assets on Stellar. It pays employees using stablecoins like USDC. Zebec streams those salaries in real time. Employees can spend, save, or cash out instantly. This is not theory anymore. Through integrations with global payment networks like MoneyGram, users can convert digital assets into local currency almost instantly. That means someone in an emerging market can receive streamed income and access it in real cash without needing a traditional bank. This is where things become truly transformational, because the biggest opportunity is not just in developed markets, it's in regions where financial infrastructure is broken, expensive, or inaccessible. Zebec plus Stellar directly targets that gap. Instant cross-border payments, near zero remittance fees, real-time income access, financial inclusion at scale. This is how adoption really happens, not through speculation, but through solving real problems. Another critical layer to understand here is recurring transaction flow. Most blockchains struggle with sustainability. They rely on hype cycles, big spikes in activity followed by long periods of silence. But Zebec introduces something fundamentally different: consistency. Payroll doesn't stop. Subscriptions don't stop. Daily financial activity doesn't stop. This creates a baseline of continuous usage that strengthens the entire network over time. And when that baseline is combined with institutional inflows from tokenized assets, you get a system that is both stable and expanding. That's rare in crypto. That's powerful. That's where long-term value is built. Now let's zoom out even further. What this partnership is really doing is redefining how money behaves. In traditional finance, money is static. It sits in accounts, moves slowly, and depends on intermediaries. In this new model, money becomes dynamic. It flows continuously. It settles instantly. It operates 24/7 without friction. This shift from static to streaming finance is one of the most important transformations happening in the industry right now. And Zebec is at the center of that transformation. From an investment perspective, this is where the asymmetry lies. Markets often overlook infrastructure because it's not flashy. It doesn't create immediate hype. But over time, infrastructure becomes the foundation that everything else is built on. Think about the internet. The biggest winners were not just the apps but the protocols, the rails, the systems that powered everything behind the scenes. That's exactly what we're seeing here. This partnership is not about a short-term pump. It's about long-term positioning. It's about building a system where institutions bring capital onto the chain. Businesses deploy that capital into real use cases. Users interact with that capital daily through payments and services. And Zebec sits right in the middle of that flow capturing activity, enabling movement and driving usage. This is why the narrative matters so much. The future of finance is not just about putting assets on chain. It's about making those assets useful. Assets that move, assets that stream, assets that generate continuous economic activity. And that's exactly what this partnership unlocks. For your audience on Satoshi Guy, the key takeaway is simple. This is not just another crypto collaboration. This is the merging of two critical layers: a settlement layer, Stellar, a movement layer, Zebec. Together, they form a full-stack financial system, one that brings real-world value on-chain, and then keeps that value moving in real time. That's how you go from speculation to adoption. That's how you go from hype to utility. And that's how you build the future of money.